The morning sun of Viridia Prime cast strange purple light through the crystal windows of the Galactic Academy. Inside Classroom 7 Delta, students from 12 different worlds settled into their seats. Some floated in gravity fields, others anchored themselves to the floor with magnetic clamps, and a few simply hung from the ceiling like living chandeliers. Professor Cuthbert stood at the front of the room, his crystalline body catching the light and throwing rainbow patterns across the walls. He was tall, nearly 8 feet, and his transparent form housed swirling galaxies of colored minerals that shifted with his emotions. Today, those minerals glowed a calm blue-green, indicating he was ready to teach. "Good morning, students." His voice rang like distant chimes. "Today, we continue our study of apex predators across the known galaxy." Some students clicked their mandibles, others flashed colored lights, and a few released pleasant scents into the air. It was the universal greeting of young beings eager to learn about the dangerous creatures that ruled their HOMEWORLDS. In the third row, near the window, sat Hyan Wu. At 19 Earth years old, he looked remarkably ordinary compared to his classmates. His skin was soft and pink, without scales or armor. His teeth were small and flat, clearly designed for eating plants rather than tearing flesh. His fingernails were short and blunt, useless for climbing or fighting. Even his hair was just thin black strands that served no protective purpose. The other students had learned to be gentle around him. During their first week, Sarah had accidentally bumped into him during a hallway rush. Her natural katana's plates, which covered her arms like armor, had left bruises on his fragile skin. The incident had embarrassed everyone and led to new rules about careful movement around the human. "Yesterday, we discussed the crystal wolves of Zirian Prime," Professor Cuthbert continued. "Today, I want each of you to share knowledge about the most dangerous predator from your homeworld." Zara raised one of her forearms. Her people, the Krathen, looked like a cross between insects and warriors. Natural plates of bone-hard chitin covered most of her body, and her eyes could see in 12 different spectrums of light. "Professor," she said, her voice buzzing through vocal cords that could produce sounds humans couldn't even hear. "The boar worms of Krathia are the ultimate hunters. They burrow through solid rock and sense vibrations from miles away. Their shells are made of iron they consume from the planet's core. Nothing can break their armor." The class made appreciative sounds. Boar worms were legendary throughout the galaxy. They could tunnel through mountain ranges and had been known to destroy entire mining operations. Veltara spoke next, though speaking wasn't quite the right word. The Nibili existed as a cloud of intelligent gas held together by electromagnetic fields. When he communicated, his entire body flashed with lights that translated into words through the classroom's universal translator. "The void rays of the spiral nebula make your boar worms look like pets." His lights pulsed with pride. "They feed on pure energy and can drain the life force from entire space stations. They are invisible until they attack, and they can travel faster than most starships." More impressed sounds filled the room. Several students shifted nervously. The void rays were one of the reasons most species avoided the outer nebula regions. Torgan slammed his fist on his desk, making the metal ring. The young hegemony warrior was built like a living weapon. Natural bone spurs jutted from his knuckles, elbows, and shoulders. His skin was thick as leather and colored deep red with black stripes that showed his family's military rank. "War beasts," he growled. "On Hegemonis, we bred the perfect predators. 12 feet tall, 6 legs, armor that deflects plasma weapons, and jaws that can bite through starship hulls. They're smart enough to use tactics and strong enough to flip hover tanks." The class fell silent. War beasts were artificial creations, but that made them even more terrifying. The hegemony had designed them specifically to be unstoppable killing machines. Nari floated near the ceiling, her translucent body shifting through colors as she communicated through bioluminescence. The Kithrin were peaceful by nature, but even their world had dangers. The deep swimmers of Kether are worse than anything with legs. Kay's, her colors pulsed in patterns that conveyed both beauty and horror. They're larger than your war beasts, Torgan, and they hunt in the crushing depths of our ocean trenches. They can survive pressures that would flatten most spacecraft. Professor Kethfer nodded approvingly as each student shared their homeworlds. Nightmares. The Simothy talked about poison cloud creatures that could kill with a single breath. The Delicates described phase-shifting hunters that could become invisible and intangible at will. The Cerebral students shared data about hive-mind predators that thought faster than quantum computers. After an hour of increasingly terrifying descriptions, Professor Kethfer's crystalline form turned toward Hyen Wu. The minerals inside his body shifted to curious yellow-green. What about Earth, young Hyen Wu? The professor asked gently. What predators rule your homeworld? The room fell quiet. Everyone knew that Earth had been classified as a garden world. The previous human diplomats had shared stories about Earth's creatures that seemed almost comically harmless compared to the monsters other worlds produced. They had laughed about dangerous rabbits and fierce deer. The humans seemed to find their own planet's wildlife amusing rather than threatening. Hyen Wu had been quiet during the entire class, taking notes in his primitive paper notebook. Now he looked up and smiled, the expression making his face even softer and more harmless looking. I'd like to tell you about sharks, he said simply. Several students exchanged glances. Nari's colors shifted to amused pink. Torgan snorted. Eh? Sound like steam escaping from a damaged pipe. Even Professor Kethfer's minerals showed patience-testing orange. Sharks are fish, Hyen Wu continued, seemingly unaware that his classmates were preparing for disappointment. They live in Earth's oceans. Zara clicked her mandibles in what passed for polite interest among her people. Fish were among the most primitive life forms in the galaxy. Most worlds had evolved past simple aquatic creatures billions of years ago. Please, continue, Professor Kethfer encouraged. Though his tone suggested he was being kind to the obviously outmatched human. Hyen Wu opened his notebook and looked at a hand-drawn picture. It showed a sleek, torpedo-shaped creature with what appeared to be a pointed nose and a triangular fin on its back. To the alien students, it looked about as threatening as a floating vegetable. Sharks have been around for about 400 million years, Hyen Wu said, his voice carrying the enthusiasm of someone discussing a favorite topic. They're older than trees. They were swimming in Earth's oceans before most complex life existed on land. This got some attention. 400 million years was a significant time span, even by galactic standards. Most of the war beasts, void, rays, and crystal wolves, the students had described, were relatively recent evolutionary developments. They haven't changed much in all that time, Hyen Wu continued. Evolution tried to improve them, but couldn't find anything that needed fixing. Professor Kethfer's crystals shifted to interested blue. In his thousands of years of studying xenobiology, he had learned that species that remained unchanged for vast periods usually had good reasons. What makes them so, perfect? The professor asked. Hyen Wu's smile grew wider, and for just a moment, things flickered in his eyes that made Neri's colors shift to uncertain purple. Well, the human said, let me tell you about their design. The class settled in, expecting to hear about some quaint swimming creature from the peaceful world of Earth. They had no idea they were about to learn why the Galactic Council had classified humanity's homeworld as something far more dangerous than a simple garden paradise. Outside, Viridia Prime's gentle sun continued to shine through the crystal windows. But somehow, the light seemed a little less warm than it had been moments before. Haiyan Wu looked around the classroom at his alien classmates. They were all waiting for him to describe some harmless swimming creature. He could see it in their body language, the way Nari's colors had shifted to bored purple, how Torgen was already looking out the window. In a patient but uninterested way, Professor Kethfer held his crystalline form. First, I should explain Earth's oceans. Haiyan Wu began, his voice still calm and friendly. They cover about 70% of our planet's surface. The deepest parts go down almost 7 miles. Most of it is completely dark. Its gaseous form flickered with mild interest. His people lived in the gas clouds of nebulae, so vast, dark spaces weren't unusual to him. But the other students seemed even less impressed. Oceans were common throughout the galaxy. The water is salty, Haiyan Wu continued. It's full of minerals and chemicals. The temperature changes from freezing cold in the deep parts to warm near the surface. And that's where sharks live everywhere in the ocean. Zara clicked her mandibles politely. Her homeworld had acid lakes that could dissolve metal, so salty water didn't sound particularly challenging. Now, about their bodies, Haiyan Wu said, turning to a new page in his notebook. Sharks don't have bones like most fish. Our skeletons are made of cartilage, the same flexible stuff that's in human ears and noses. Professor Kethfer's minerals shifted to curious yellow. Flexible skeletons. That seems inefficient for a predator. Actually, it's the opposite, Haiyan Wu replied. The cartilage makes them incredibly flexible. Shark can turn in a space barely larger than its own body length. They can twist and bend in ways that would break a boned creature. This caught Torgen's attention. The hegemony warrior understood the value of flexibility in combat. His own bone spurs sometimes limited his movement in tight spaces. Skin is interesting too, Haiyan Wu continued. It's covered in tiny scales called dermal denticles. Each scale is basically a small tooth. Their entire body is covered in millions of microscopic teeth. The classroom grew quieter. Nara's colors shifted from bored purple to uncertain blue. Why would they need teeth on their skin? Asked Yuna, the Symmetry student. Her people communicated through scents, and she was unconsciously releasing a smell that meant confusion. 2 reasons, Haiyan Wu explained. First, it makes them incredibly smooth when swimming forward, but rough as sandpaper when touched the wrong way. Second, anything that tries to grab a shark gets cut by its skin. Daehan, the nervous student from the Harmony Worlds, shifted uncomfortably in his seat. His people had evolved from prey animals, and the idea of a creature that could injure attackers just by being touched made his fur stand slightly on end. But the really interesting part is their teeth, Haiyan Wu said, flipping to another page. Sharks don't just have one set of teeth. They have multiple rows, and they replace them constantly throughout their lives. How many teeth? Professor Kethfer asked, his scientific curiosity overriding his casual interest. It depends on the species, Haiyan Wu replied. A great white shark has about 3,000 teeth in its mouth at any given time, arranged in several rows. Behind, the front teeth are backup rows, ready to move forward when the front ones fall out. Menesio, the delicate student, flickered and became partially transparent, her species' fear response. 3,000 teeth sounded like something from a nightmare. They lose teeth constantly, Haiyan Wu continued. Some species can lose up to 35,000 teeth in a lifetime. But it doesn't matter, because new ones are always growing. That's a lot of teeth, Jae-sung said slowly. The Kethari warrior was doing mental calculations, trying to imagine fighting something with that many cutting edges. And they're not small teeth, Haiyan Wu added helpfully. Great white shark teeth can be 2 inches long. They're triangular, serrated like tiny saws, and sharp enough to cut through bone. The room fell completely silent. Even the usual background noises of alien students the soft humming of Veltar's energy field, the gentle clicking of Zar's breathing apparatus, the whispered translations of the universal communicators, all stopped. But teeth are just tools, Hyan Wu continued, seemingly unaware of the growing tension in the room. What makes them effective is how sharks use them. They have some of the strongest bite forces in the animal kingdom. How strong, Professor? Cathra asked, though his voice had lost its casual tone. A great white shark can bite with a force of over 4,000 pounds per square inch. Hyan Wu replied matter-of-factly. That's enough to bite through small boats. Kyung Min, the logical cerebral student, was rapidly processing this information. His species prided themselves on rational analysis, but the numbers were becoming disturbing. What do they hunt with? Such ... capabilities. Fish, seal sea, lions, dolphins, other sharks, whales, sea turtles, Hyan Wu listed casually. Some species aren't picky. Tiger sharks are called the garbage cans of the ocean because they'll eat almost anything. Other sharks, Torgan repeated. They hunt their own kind. Yes, Hyan Wu nodded. Larger sharks regularly eat smaller sharks. It's called shark-con-shark predation. Some species specialize in hunting other shark species. Nara's colors were now cycling rapidly through confused patterns. Her people were peaceful filter feeders, and the concept of creatures that hunted their own species was deeply disturbing. But surely they're not very fast, suggested So-young, the pacifist student. Her people had evolved on a world without predators, and she was trying to find some limiting factor that would make these creatures less threatening. Actually, they're quite fast, Hyan Wu replied. Most sharks can swim at about 25 miles per hour when they need to. But when they're attacking, some species can reach speeds of up to 35 miles per hour. He paused to let this sink in, then continued. And they can swim at those speeds for extended periods. Sharks are incredibly efficient swimmers. They can travel thousands of miles without stopping. Thousands of miles. Daehyun's voice was barely a whisper. Some species migrate across entire oceans, Hyan Wu confirmed. Great whites have been tracked swimming from California to Hawaii and back. That's about 5,000 miles round trip. Professor Kethver's crystalline form was now showing stress patterns, thin cracks that appeared when his people encountered information that challenged their understanding of natural order. These creatures, how large do they grow? Great. Whites can reach 20 feet in length and weigh over 5,000 pounds, Hyan Wu answered. But that's not the biggest. Whale sharks can grow to 40 feet, though they're filter feeders. The largest predatory sharks, like the extinct megalodon, could reach 60 feet. Extinct? Manesio asked, hopefully, flickering back to partial visibility. The megalodon is extinct, Hyan Wu confirmed, and several students relaxed slightly. But great whites, tiger sharks, bull sharks, hammerheads, about 400 other species are still very much alive. 400 species. Veltar's entire gaseous form pulsed with alarm. Give or take, Hyan Wu said cheerfully. Earth's oceans are home to a wide variety of sharks. Each species has evolved for different hunting strategies and environments. The classroom had fallen into stunned silence. What had started as a presentation about simple fish was turning into a catalog of oceanic nightmares, and Hyan Wu was just getting started. Now, the really interesting part, he said, turning to a fresh page in his notebook, is how they hunt outside. The crystal windows, Viridia Prime's purple sun, seemed to dim slightly, as if even the peaceful star was growing concerned about what it was illuminating. Professor Kethver's crystalline body now showed visible stress fractures, thin lines of light that appeared when his people encountered truly disturbing information. The colorful minerals inside him swirled in patterns that meant deep concern. Perhaps, he said carefully, you could tell us more about their hunting methods. Hyan Wu smiled brightly, completely unaware of the growing tension in the room. "Oh, that's the best part. Sharks are amazing hunters. Okay? They use all their senses working together." He opened his notebook to a page covered with simple drawings and notes. First, there's their sense of smell. A shark can detect 1 drop of blood in 25 gallons of water. That's like finding a specific grain of sand on a beach. Released a sharp scent of alarm. Her people's entire culture was based on detecting and reading chemical signals. But even they couldn't achieve that level of sensitivity. "They can smell blood from over a mile away," Hyan Wu continued. "When they detect something interesting, they follow the scent trail like a bloodhound following a path. But surely they need to see their prey to attack," suggested King Min, his logical mind trying to find limitations to these creatures. "Actually, sharks can hunt in complete darkness," Hyan Wu replied. "They have something called lateral line systems, special organs that detect vibrations and pressure changes in the water. They can feel a fish swimming from hundreds of feet away." Daehan's fur was now standing completely on end. His people had evolved incredible hearing to avoid predators. But the idea of a hunter that could track movement through water pressure was terrifying. "And then there's electroreception," Hyan Wu said, turning to another page. "Sharks can detect the electrical fields that all living things produce. Every heartbeat, every muscle movement, every nerve impulse creates tiny electrical signals." Classroom fell dead silent. Even the mechanical sounds of the life support systems seemed to quiet down. "How sensitive is this ... electroreception?" Professor Kethver asked, though he wasn't sure he wanted to know the answer. "They can detect electrical fields as weak as 5 billionths of a volt," Hyan Wu explained. "That means they can sense the heartbeat of a fish hiding under sand, or find prey in murky water where they can't see anything." Manesio flickered and became completely invisible. Her people's camouflage abilities were useless against a predator that could track electrical signals. "But the really impressive part is how they attack," Hyan Wu continued, his enthusiasm growing. "Great white sharks are ambush predators. Okay? They attack from below, swimming up from the deep water." "From below?" Torgan asked. The hegemony warrior understood tactics, and attacking from an unexpected direction was a classic military strategy. "They swim up at incredible speed," Hyan Wu explained. "When they hit their target, they're moving so fast that they launch completely out of the water. A 2,000-pound great white shark can fly 15 feet into the air." The alien student stared at him in disbelief. Nara's colors cycled through every shade of terror her species could produce. "They can fly." Velta's gaseous form contracted in shock. "But not exactly fly," Hyan Wu clarified. "They breach, launch themselves completely out of the water. Sometimes they spin in the air. It's called a breach attack, and is one of the most powerful hunting techniques in nature." Jae-sung, the Cathari warrior, was doing rapid mental calculations. A creature that size, moving that fast, would hit with the force of a small spacecraft crash. "What happens to the prey?" he asked quietly. "Usually, the first bite is enough," Hyan Wu replied matter-of-factly. "Great whites bite with 4,000 pounds of force. Remember? Their teeth are designed to slice through flesh and bone. Most prey animals are killed or severely injured by the first attack." "Most," Young whispered. "Sometimes they miss," Hyan Wu said. "Or sometimes the prey is too big for one bite. Then the shark will circle back and attack again. They're very patient hunters." Professor Kethver's stress fractures were spreading across his crystalline form. "You mentioned different hunting strategies." "Oh yes," Hyan Wu nodded enthusiastically. "Great whites do the breach attack, but tiger sharks are more like underwater tanks. Okay? They just ram into their prey and bite. Bull sharks hunt in shallow water where other sharks can't go. Hammerheads use their wide heads to pin rays and other flatfish to the ocean floor." He flipped through several pages of notes, Thresher sharks have tails as long as their bodies. They use them like whips to stun schools of fish. Mako sharks are the speed demons. They're the fastest sharks in the ocean. How fast? Dayhine asked, though he clearly didn't want to know. Short-fin Makos can swim at 45 miles per hour. Hyen Wu replied, they can outrun most boats, okay? And they can jump 20 feet out of the water when they're hooked on fishing lines. The room was now completely silent, except for the sound of various alien breathing apparatuses working overtime, as stress levels climbed. But here's something really interesting, Hyen Wu continued, apparently oblivious to the terror he was causing. Sharks have something called tonic immobility. If you flip them upside down, they go into a trance-like state. A trance, Professor? Cuthbert asked. I become completely still and relaxed, Hyen Wu explained. Scientists think it might be related to mating behavior, but we're not sure. The important thing is that it makes them easier to study. Zara's mandibles clicked rapidly, a sign of extreme agitation among her people. Study? You mean humans deliberately interact with these creatures? Oh yes, Hyen Wu said cheerfully. Marine biologists work with sharks all the time. They tag them, measure them, take blood samples, attach tracking devices. My Aunt G1 is a shark researcher. She's worked with hundreds of them. The alien students exchanged looks of horror. The casual way Hyen Wu mentioned humans regularly handling these apex predators sent waves of shock through the classroom. She swum with great whites, tiger sharks, bull sharks, hammerheads, Hyen Wu continued. Last year, she helped relocate a 14-foot tiger shark that had gotten trapped in shallow water. Relocate, Torgana's voice was barely a growl. They had to catch it, load it onto a boat, and transport it to deeper water, Hyen Wu explained. Aunt G1 was in the water with it the whole time, making sure it could breathe properly. One Bin, the student from the militaristic Zephyr Empire, finally spoke up. His voice was carefully controlled, but there was an edge to it that made several other students nervous. These sharks, he said slowly, they sound like perfect military weapons. Does your species use them in warfare? Hyen Wu looked genuinely confused. Use them in warfare? No, of course not. We protect them. Protect them. Professor Cuthbert, his voice rang with harmonics of disbelief. Many shark species are endangered, Hyen Wu explained. Human activities like overfishing and pollution have reduced their numbers. So we've created laws to protect them. We have shark sanctuaries and marine reserves. The classroom erupted in various forms of alien panic. Screeching, color changes, pheromone releases, and electromagnetic static filled the air. The universal translators struggled to keep up with the multiple languages of fear and confusion. You protect them. Nera's colors were flashing so rapidly. They were almost solid white. You keep these predators alive on purpose? Of course, Hyen Wu replied, looking around at his distressed classmates with genuine concern. They're important to ocean ecosystems. Plus, they're fascinating creatures. Many humans consider them beautiful. Outside the crystal windows, Viridia Prime's purple sun continued to shine, but inside the classroom, something fundamental had shifted. The alien students were beginning to understand that Earth's garden world classification might be the most dangerous mistake in galactic history. The chaos in the classroom slowly died down as Professor Cuthbert's crystalline form rang with calming harmonics. His stress fractures had spread so far that his entire body looked like a cracked window, but he was still trying to maintain academic order. Students, please, he chimed, though his voice carried undertones of confusion. Let us allow Hyen Wu to continue. One Ben, the Zephyr Empire student, leaned forward with intense focus. His people had conquered their homeworld by eliminating every dangerous creature larger than themselves. The idea of protecting apex predators went against everything his military culture understood. He said, humans protect these sharks, One Bin said carefully. But surely your people avoid the waters where they live. Hien Wu looked genuinely puzzled by the question. Avoid them? No, not really. Millions of humans swim in the ocean every day. We surf, dive, fish, sail, swim for exercise. The ocean is very popular for recreation. The silence that followed was so complete that the life support systems seemed loud by comparison. Recreation. Nara's colors had stopped cycling and were now stuck on a sickly yellow-green that meant deep shock among her people. Beach vacations are very common on Earth, Hien Wu explained. Families go to the ocean to relax. Children play in the waves. People swim and surf and snorkel. Some beaches have millions of visitors every year. Kayan made a small, whimpering sound. His people avoided large bodies of water entirely, even the peaceful lakes on their homeworld. Kapech, Kung Min said, his logical mind struggling. With the information, humans have eliminated sharks from populated areas, or at least keep them away somehow. Actually, we try to do the opposite, Hien Wu replied. Many coastal areas work hard to attract sharks. Healthy shark populations mean healthy ocean ecosystems. He opened his notebook to a page covered with simple photographs printed from his personal collection. The images showed humans in the water, but the alien students couldn't quite process what they were seeing. This is my sister Sujen, Hien Wu said, pointing to a picture of a young woman floating next to what appeared to be a massive gray creature with visible teeth. She went cage diving with great whites off the coast of South Africa last year. Subsaurus. Mandibles clicked so rapidly they sounded like machine gun fire. Cage diving. Humans get into metal cages and go underwater to watch sharks, Hien Wu explained. It's a popular tourist activity. Su Jin said. The great whites were beautiful. Some of them were 18 feet long. A sister voluntarily entered the territory of these predators. Professor Kethver's voice cracked like breaking glass. Oh yes, Hien Wu nodded. She saved money for 2 years to afford the trip. She said it was one of the best experiences of her life. He turned to another photo. This is my cousin, Teho. He freedives with hammerhead sharks in the Galapagos Islands. It's freediving. Its gaseous form contracted to half its normal size, swimming underwater without breathing equipment, Hien Wu clarified. Teho can hold his breath for almost 6 minutes, swims down to where the hammerheads school and just floats with them. Manesio flickered rapidly between visible and invisible, her species equivalent of a panic attack. And this, Hien Wu continued, turning to a third photo, is my Aunt G1 tagging a tiger shark. The image showed a woman in scuba gear floating next to a massive shark while attaching some kind of device to its dorsal fin. The shark was easily 3 times her size, and its mouth was clearly visible in the picture. She's touching it, Sa Young whispered. Tiger sharks are usually pretty calm when they're being tagged, Hien Wu explained. Aunt G1 has tagged over 300 sharks in her career. She says they're much more intelligent than most people realize. Torgen slammed his armored fist on his desk, making the entire classroom shake. This makes no sense, he growled, unhegemonous. We built walls around our cities to keep out predators. We armed every citizen. We created war beasts to fight the dangerous creatures. How does your species survive? By swimming with monsters. They're not monsters, Hien Wu said gently. They're just animals doing what evolution designed them to do. Most shark attacks on humans are cases of mistaken identity. Mistaken identity? Jae-sung asked. Sharks sometimes mistake surfers for seals, Hien Wu explained. From below, a person on a surfboard looks like a seal swimming at the surface. When sharks realize they've bitten a human instead of their normal prey, they usually let go and swim away. Usually, Yuna's scent had shifted to pure terror. Shark attacks on humans are actually very rare, Hien Wu continued. You're more likely to be struck by lightning than attacked by a shark. Only about 50 to 70 people worldwide are attacked by sharks each year, and most of those people survive. Professor Kethver's minerals were swirling in patterns that indicated his worldview was collapsing. How many humans live on your planet? About 8 billion, Haiyan Wu replied. 8 billion people share a planet with hundreds of species of apex predators, and only 50 are attacked annually. Kungman was rapidly processing the statistics. That suggests either incredible luck or ... He trailed off, unwilling to finish the thought. Or what? Wunbin demanded. Or humans are significantly more dangerous than the predators, Kyungmin whispered. Haiyan Wu looked confused again. Dangerous? Humans aren't dangerous to sharks. Well, not usually. Actually, humans kill about 100 million sharks every year. The classroom exploded into chaos again. This time, the various alien panic sounds merged into a cacophony that overwhelmed the universal translators. 100 million. Professor Kethber's voice was barely audible through his stress harmonics. Mostly by accident, Haiyan Wu said quickly, looking concerned by his classmates' reactions. Commercial fishing nets catch a lot of sharks unintentionally. Some are killed for their fins, which is illegal in many places now. It's actually a big conservation problem. Conservation problem. Neri's colors were flashing so rapidly, she looked like a living strobe light. We're trying to protect sharks from overfishing, Haiyan Wu explained. Many species are endangered because of human activities. That's why we've created marine protected areas and shark sanctuaries. Veltar's entire gaseous form was now pulsing with shock. Your species accidentally kills 100 million apex predators per year, and your response is to create laws protecting the survivors. Well, yes, Haiyan Wu said. It's the right thing to do. Sharks are important to ocean ecosystems. Plus, they were here first. Earth's oceans belong to them as much as they belong to us. Daehan made another whimpering sound and tried to hide under his desk. Some humans even swim with sharks without any protection at all. Haiyan Wu continued, turning to another page of photos. Free swimming with whale sharks is popular in several countries. Whale sharks are the biggest fish in the ocean. They can be 40 feet long, but they're gentle giants. 40 feet. Torgana's voice was barely a whisper. Are filter feeders, so they don't hunt large prey, Haiyan Wu explained. But swimming next to something that big is still an incredible experience. My friend from university did it in Mexico. She said it was like swimming next to a living submarine. Professor Kethver's crystalline form was now more cracked than crystal. The fundamental principles of predator-prey relationships that he had taught for centuries were crumbling before his eyes. On your world, he said slowly, apex predators and humans coexist peacefully. For the most part, Haiyan Wu nodded. There are occasional conflicts, but we usually try to solve them without harming the animals. We relocate problem sharks, create barriers to separate swimming areas, and educate people about ocean safety. The alien students sat in stunned silence, trying to process this information. Everything they thought they knew about survival, evolution, and the natural order was being systematically destroyed by this soft, harmless-looking human. But if sharks aren't the most dangerous creatures on your planet, Wunbin finally asked, what is? Haiyan Wu smiled brightly, completely unaware that he was about to deliver the final blow to his classmates' sanity. Oh, sharks aren't even in the top 10, he said cheerfully. Would you like me to tell you about mosquitoes? The mention of mosquitoes hung in the air like a death sentence. Professor Kethver's crystalline form was now so fractured with stress lines that he looked like he might shatter at any moment. The alien students sat frozen in their seats, afraid to ask what could possibly be worse than the ocean monsters they had just learned about. Bin's military training, forcing him to seek tactical information, even in the face of terror, finally broke the silence. If sharks are not the most dangerous creatures on your planet, what are? Haiyan Wu looked thoughtful for a moment. It depends on how you measure danger. We're talking about which animals kill the most humans each year. Mosquitoes are definitely number one. Mosquitoes. Nara's colors shifted to confused brown. Her people had no word for such creatures. They're tiny flying insects, Hyan Wu explained, making a small gesture with his fingers. God, this big, okay? They bite humans and animals to drink blood. Several students relaxed slightly. Tiny, blood-drinking insects didn't sound nearly as terrifying as 18-foot sharks with 4,000 pounds of bite force. They kill about 1 million humans every year, Hyan Wu continued casually. The relaxation ended instantly. Daehyun fell off his chair with a crash. 1 million. Professor Cuthbert's voice cracked like breaking crystal. How? They carry diseases. Huan Wu explained. Malaria, dengue fever, yellow fever, Zika virus, encephalitis. When they bite an infected person and then bite someone else, they spread the disease. Your tiny insects are biological weapons. Viltar's gaseous form contracted to a quarter of its normal size. Not weapons exactly, Hyan Wu said. They don't do it on purpose. They're just trying to get food. But yes, they're very effective at spreading diseases. King Min was rapidly calculating. 1 million deaths per year from creatures smaller than my fingertip. How many of these mosquitoes exist on your planet? Scientists estimate there are about 100 trillion mosquitoes on Earth at any given time. Hyan Wu replied. The number was so large that several students' translation devices simply gave up and started making arrow sounds. But mosquitoes aren't really apex predators, Hyan Wu continued. If we're talking about actual predators, there are crocodiles, polar bears, tigers, lions, leopards, wolves, brown bears, venomous snakes, poisonous spiders. He started counting on his fingers as he listed them. Each name caused fresh waves of panic among his audience. Torgen interrupted, his warrior instincts finally kicking in. Your species shares the planet with all of these apex predators. Oh yes, Hyan Wu nodded. Polar bears in the Arctic, tigers in Asia, lions in Africa, crocodiles in tropical regions, wolves in forests, bears in mountains and woodlands. They're distributed across most of Earth's environments. How does your species survive? Sa Young whispered. Mostly by being smart about it, Hyan Wu replied. We know where the dangerous animals live, so we take precautions. We build proper shelters, travel in groups, carry protection when we go into wilderness areas. Protection, Jasing asked hopefully. Advanced weapons. Sometimes, Hyan Wu said, but usually just basic stuff. Bear spray, noisemakers, proper food storage. Most dangerous animals avoid humans if they can. They avoid humans. Cal flickered back into visibility, looking confused. Most predators don't see humans as normal prey, Hyan Wu explained. We're not the right size or shape for what they usually hunt. Most animal attacks happen when predators are surprised, protecting their young or defending territory. Wenbin leaned forward intently. Surely, your military has eliminated the most dangerous creatures from populated areas. Hyan Wu looked shocked. Eliminated them? No, we protect them. Most large predators are endangered species. We have laws against hunting them, and we create national parks and reserves where they can live safely. You create safe spaces for the creatures that hunt your people. Professor Cuthbert's voice was barely audible through his stress harmonics. They were here first, Hyan Wu said simply. It's their planet too. Besides, ecosystems need apex predators to stay balanced. Without wolves, deer populations explode and destroy forests. Without sharks, fish populations get out of control. Predators are important enough to risk human lives. Yuna asked, her scent now a mixture of confusion and terror. We don't really think of it as risking lives, Haiyan Wu replied. More people die from falling downstairs than from animal attacks. Lightning kills more people than sharks, bears, and big cats combined. Veltar pulsed weakly. Your planet has deadly lightning too. Lightning isn't really deadly if you know how to avoid it, Haiyan Wu said. Don't stand under tall objects during storms. Don't go swimming. Stay inside if possible. It's just common sense. Common sense, Cumin repeated slowly. Your species considers avoiding lightning strikes to be common sense. Well, yes, Haiyan Wu said, looking confused by the question. Doesn't everyone? The alien students exchanged looks of growing horror. The peaceful worlds most of them came from didn't have lightning, at least not the kind that could kill. Let me understand this correctly, Professor Kethver said, his voice ringing with desperate hope that he had misunderstood something. Your species shares a planet with millions of apex predators, trillions of disease-carrying insects, and weather phenomena that can kill from the sky. That's a pretty good summary. Haiyan Wu nodded. Though you forgot about volcanoes, earthquakes, tsunamis, hurricanes, tornadoes, blizzards, floods, droughts, and forest fires. Several students made choking sounds. But a really amazing thing, Haiyan Wu continued, his enthusiasm returning, is how humans have learned to coexist with all of it. We study dangerous animals to understand them better. We track weather patterns to predict storms. We build earthquake-resistant buildings and tsunami warning systems. We study the creatures that hunt you. Nara's colors were now cycling through patterns that had no translation. Of course, Haiyan Wu said, knowledge is the best protection. My Aunt Jiwan knows more about shark behavior than almost anyone on Earth. That's why she can work with them safely. Understanding predators makes them less dangerous. Haiyan crawled back onto his chair, his fur standing at odd angles. How many humans die from all these dangers each year? From animal attacks? Maybe a few hundred worldwide, Haiyan Wu replied. Natural disasters are more dangerous. Maybe a few thousand deaths per year from earthquakes, storms, and volcanic eruptions combined. Few thousand out of 8 billion, Cumin calculated. Cume species has achieved a survival rate of over 99.9% on a planet filled with apex predators and natural disasters. I guess so, Haiyan Wu said, though most people don't think about it that way. We just live our lives. Ben stood up slowly, his armored body rigid with a mixture of respect and terror. What happens when these apex predators threaten human settlements? We try to relocate them first, Haiyan Wu replied. But if an animal becomes too dangerous to humans, sometimes it has to be eliminated. It doesn't happen often, and we always try other solutions first. And if relocation doesn't work, Haiyan Wu's expression became more serious. Then humans hunt them. The simple statement sent a chill through the classroom that had nothing to do with the climate control system. Humans hunt apex predators, Torgan asked quietly. When necessary, Haiyan Wu nodded. Some human cultures have traditions of hunting dangerous animals as tests of skill and courage. But mostly, it's about protecting communities with advanced weapons. Sometimes, Haiyan Wu said. But some hunters prefer traditional methods. Spears, bows, even bare hands in some cultures. There are humans who have killed bears with knives, and others who wrestle crocodiles. Professor Kethver's crystalline form finally shattered. Not completely, but enough that several large pieces fell to the floor with musical chiming sounds. His emergency backup consciousness activated, allowing him to continue functioning. But his voice was now a hollow echo of its former self. Your species, he said slowly, treats apex predators as neighbors, other disasters as inconveniences, and mortal combat with massive predators as recreational activities. When you put it like that, it sounds kind of extreme, Haiyan Wu admitted. But it's just normal life on Earth. The classroom fell into the deepest silence yet. Outside Viridia Prime's gentle purple sun continued to shine. But inside the academy's walls, the fundamental understanding of what made a species dangerous had been forever changed. Finally, Soyoung asked a question that was terrifying them. All Hyan Wu, if your species can coexist with all these dangers, what does that make humans? Hyan Wu looked genuinely puzzled by the question. What do you mean? Kamin, she said carefully. If sharks and bears and tigers and lightning and volcanoes are all normal parts of life on Earth, and humans not only survive but thrive among them, ... What does that make your species? Hyan Wu thought about it for a moment, then smiled that same bright, harmless smile that had fooled them all at the beginning of class. I guess it makes us pretty adaptable, he said cheerfully in the silence that followed. Every alien student in the room finally understood why the Galactic Council had classified Earth as a restricted zone and its inhabitants as a protected species. It wasn't to protect humans from the galaxy, it was to protect the galaxy from humans.